Well, Dean, we want you to tell us how to make money, and lots of it.
What? Are we rolling?
We're on.
Already?
Yeah.
We're rolling? I really have to pee.
When I was like a little kid, I remember thinking, I had no money because I'm a kid, but I had an allowance and I used to spend that all on fish. And I remember the idea, it must just be like a natural idea of if I take a bunch of fish, I breed them, I sell them, I can make a bit of money and buy more fish. I guess It's not about the money, but you've bred a lot of fish and I'm sure you can spread a bit of wisdom on what to breed to make a bit of money in the hobby.
It's interesting because when I was a little kid, I didn't have
58
any
years ago.
No money. I had an allowance, and eventually I got what's called a paper route, where you actually delivered the papers for pay. Now they don't do that anymore. But I used to do it on foot or bicycle. I would save that money and buy fish. So very similar, right?
It's just like a disease.
And then I would think, if I reproduce these fish, I can sell those babies and make some money or make more fish. I mean, I first started fish when I was 7. I probably started really getting interested in selling them when I was 13. When I started to realize, you can buy and sell, and there were no tropical fish shops in my town. Let's just call it the mortician. So the guy that ran the funeral home was kind of running a home tropical fish shop in his basement. I think I found it out through a grocery store guy or someone else telling me that, oh yeah, you could get fish there. And one time I just knocked on their door. I was told by his wife it's by appointment only. I had to call. So I went home and called and made an appointment for the next day. And then I started riding my bike over there and getting my neon tetras or my guppies or whatever from them. And then I got hit by the discus bug at the same time. And they had a little nickel-sized brown discus for $6 each, which was probably 2 months of delivering papers. So I saved a lot. I killed a lot of little baby discus. In the back of my mind, it was always the entrepreneur. Like, I can make more of these.
How do I make something to sell?
Right, exactly. And how do I grow them? Which involved getting more tanks. I had made a tank display out of scrap wood paneling and some corner molding, 2x2s, and it held 2 10-gallon tanks, and all you saw was the face of them. Then the lid lifted up and you could get in to work on them, change water and stuff like that. That's 2 tanks, but that's not enough to breed for money or for raising fish. And that was the limit that my parents would give me. You can have 2 tanks. So I snuck a couple more tanks in the bottom of the stand. And then, a garage sale, a bigger tank, a 29 came up. So then I was set up with 3 10-gallons and a 15, something like that. A couple 2-gallons that I hid in the corners of these stands. I started putting it all together in my mind that, I can get some fish in here and breed for money. Now, the second fish I ever spawned besides guppies was discus.
You were destined for it.
Yeah, I wasn't super successful at raising discus fry, and all of them that I did raise I kept for myself. And then I moved on to Grommies, blue, gold, and then pearl. And I spawned all those, and those babies I got up to 1 inch, and where I had got them from, the mortician, so to speak, took them back in trade. And then I could get more discus. So that's where it kind of all started, and it's downhill from there. This fish room here, pretty much paid for by angelfish. And that didn't come until later. For a long time, I avoided angelfish. I don't know why, but I think it might have been because I was hit by that discus bug really, really young.
There's almost like a discus angelfish
A little bit.
line.
A little bit. Yet they come from the same water, the same areas. Sometimes they swim together in the wild. I just was bitten by that discus bug, and I wanted to be successful with that. It wasn't till probably 17, 18, 19 years old that I had my first angelfish. The first ones I wasn't successful breeding. Obviously, most people are not successful the first time. And that's okay. You know, you just try again. Or try something else if it's not working with your water or your system. By the time I was probably beginning college, I realized that angelfish could buy a lot. By that time, I was driving and I knew where stores were, and they all wanted angelfish. After college, then I realized that I need more tanks. I had a small fish room. Half of it was angelfish, and they would pay for everything. They'd pay for everything.
What made angelfish such a good fish to produce?
That's a good question. Okay, easy to answer. First off, you can buy medium-sized ones, grow them up for a bit, and they will pair off by themselves. You don't have to pair them off. They will pair off by themselves. I totally recommend buying a group of small ones and spending the 8 to 10 months to 12 months growing them up and letting them pair off. Because if you let them pair bond themselves, you're going to have a stronger spawning and bigger spawns. Second off, you could get up to 400, 500, 600 fry sometimes from one spawn. If you think about it, even if you only got half of those to saleable size, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
200, 300 fish.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people ask, well, how does this price structure work? Well, usually it works where if I sell the fish to a wholesaler for $1, they sell it to the shop for $2 to $4. The shop sells it for $12 to $16. Kind of doubles like that. So you end up with a 3-tier structure. A lot of fish for $1 each, maybe half of that many fish for $2 each, or you're going to sell it to individuals for $12 each and sell them one or two at a time. I quickly learned that it's better to sell a lot than a few. Much easier.
Before we get into like the nitty-gritty species, like how do you sell fish? Like when I first started, I knew I could sell the fish. I didn't know who to. When I had fish for sale, what I did was made a wholesale list.
Yep.
And I had a price, my number on it. Like I actually had these fish for sale. It wasn't like an expressive interest card. It was like, you can order these fish right now.
Right.
And then what I did, I printed up a ton and I literally spent a whole day driving around my city delivering them, introducing myself to store owners, telling them what I'm doing, showing them photos of my room, showing them photos of the fish, marketing myself.
Right.
I found that was a pretty decent way to sell fish.
So when I started selling fish, there was no internet, there were no cell phones, there were no digital cameras. We had landlines and, you know, you could walk into a shop. In today's time, it's a lot different. So today you can send pictures, you can send prices, and it's all instant, right? Walking into a shop in person, find out who you deal with first, meet them face to face if at all possible.
Have a shave, have a haircut.
Yep.
Put on some cologne.
Put on a clean shirt.
Yep.
And don't wear holey pants.
First impressions are lasting impressions.
And don't have your pants down. We talked about that in the car.
No pants
You know?
down.
Yeah. So, you know, just look professional. Professional in the hobby is jeans and a t-shirt.
Exactly.
But they're clean. And then I would talk to that person. I have these growing. They're dime size now. Will you buy them from me at nickel size? And most of the time they would say, we'll take them in for credit. That's actually not a bad place to start, because they take them in for credit. You know, you're going to feel a little bit ripped off because you're giving them fish for credit and they're giving you product for.
So they're doubling up.
They're doubling up. They
Yeah.
are. But not a bad place to start, because you're starting to build a rapport with that owner.
It's like doing an apprenticeship.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
you don't earn like trade rates
Right
day
from the
one.
beginning.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that maybe hurts some people's feelings, but that's the truth. You're building a rapport.
You're gonna hurt your feelings in fish.
And no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's sometimes where I just net up 5 angelfish, 5 Craycock's rainbows.
Bring a sample.
Here's what I'm selling. This is the size, and this is what I'm pricing them at. How will this meet your needs? So you're building the rapport with the people as you are learning to breed for profit, what it gets to eventually is you say, well, I don't really need any other equipment or food right now. And I just say, can you pay me like you pay for your other fish? And a lot of times after, 8, 10, 12 times of bringing them fish for trade, they'll say, okay.
It's a customer service based industry. Like, you send fish to the shop, they die because they mix in with import fish. You didn't sell them big enough.
Right.
You can never sell fish for some reason. They're always too small.
Right.
Even if you grow them out for an extra month. So that's always going to happen. But selling your fish big, I mean, if you did store credit, you're not going to hear from them again.
No.
That's not good for the start of the relationship either.
Right.
But if you're selling fish, you have to replace them. And
I do. I did all the way from the beginning, and I always took them more than what they ordered.
Same
thing, right?
Just in case if they lose a few.
Right. Or if something happens on the way even,
Yeah. My first, actually, this is about you, but just so people realize, the first lot of fish I brought out too, after doing that wholesale list, I didn't have oxygen, and I did the deliveries in the north of my city. By the time I got to the south, the fish were dying.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. So I killed my first lot of fish to some people.
Man, that's too bad.
Yeah, so, and that was like brutal.
Yeah, I've had them where, maybe I bang the bag or something like that. You never know what's going to happen.
I think this is like all exposing to people that this is like, you got to treat it as a mini business.
Right.
It's like, you're not just going to get rich with a few tanks in your basement. Like, you got to really work the business part of it too.
Right. If you look around, the first thing you need to do when you decide to do this is be able to raise the fish up to a saleable size. Now, I'm at the point in my career where I don't raise the angels to nickel size. I want to sell them at dime size. Why? Because it takes less tank space, less food. There's less problems that are potentially in the way. More can fit in the bag. I like to raise the rams to 1 inch, the praycocks to about 1 inch. And as long as they're healthy, coming up for food. Remember we were talking in the shop today about these fish are all coming to the front for food?
Yeah.
Exactly what you want in the store. You want your fish to come to the front of their tanks for food the very next day.
You want whoever's in the shop selling the fish to be able to sell them that week so you can sell them more.
Right. Can we mention Aquarium Co-op?
Yeah.
Okay. So Aquarium
They
Co-op.
paid for all the dinners and everything, of course.
So Aquarium Co-op pretty much quarantines every fish that comes in their store. My fish pretty much come from the very same water. I've never taken them a bad fish. And over time, they've learned that they can take my fish and not even have to quarantine them. They haven't had diseases. They actually did have diseases with one batch, but they had mixed them with some imports. And I just replaced mine anyway because they weren't going to import them right away. So they can just put them in and they're ready to go. There's been times when I've dropped fish off there where the guys have just taken the whole bag of what I brought.
Yeah.
Without even them putting it in their tank.
They've just met you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you want them, they're coming right up. That's what you want right there. You got to take care of them and you immediately take care of any problems if you hear about it. Sometimes they won't tell you, but at first you can call back and check. Or even today, it's even faster to text or message and check.
Or even just leave a number and say, feel free. Like, feel free. Any problems, just let me know. I want to make my business better than anyone else.
Right. That's kind of what I do is, you build the rapport first. I mean, I can give you examples. There's shops that I've been in probably for 20 years, have never bought a fish from me. I've taken them a few fish over those 20 years for credit. I've known the owner, and now the son has taken over the business. The owner's kind of retired now. He still works in the shop every so often. And I was talking to the son one day, and he knows I take all these other shop fish. And he says, why don't you ever bring me fish? I said, because you will only take credit, and I don't need anything. I said, if you would treat me like you treat your wholesalers, I'll bring you some fish. He says, let's try it. Just like that. Let's try it. Because he knows I've been in his shop 150 million times, or maybe not quite that many, but.
And like, as a store owner now, I've got a few customers that I've offered store credit to.
Yep.
To put them through the internship, because
you have to.
10 bristlenose, it's like, for even a shop owner, it's like, well, why pay an invoice for 10 bristlenose?
Right.
But you can, if you were selling out of here, you'd have a ton of stuff for me to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, I'm on the other side of the world. store
And I don't ship fish.
no,
Sorry.
but store owners want a nebulous of breeders who supply their fish. It's better for the customer. They look better in the shop. They honestly, you can charge more for them sometimes too.
You can, because they're local bred. They're
Exactly.
already in their water.
Yeah.
And that is a big bonus.
And it's actually, finally, it's more eco-friendly. These fish aren't being shipped across the
That's
world.
true. That's true.
Better for the environment. They're not collecting.
Now some people will bring their fish to shops in buckets. I always bag them.
Professionalism.
I use 4 mil bags, which are thick, mainly because I don't want to have to double bag them.
Yeah.
I always buy the square bottoms. So I'm probably spending $1 or maybe more per bag, depending on the size. But that's part of how I present myself.
Now, I think we need to start talking about some species.
Oh, all of them?
The first thing too that I want to say, and I want you to
Okay.
give your opinion on, is, you know, I've fallen for the trick. You see like 201 plecos.
Yes.
And they're like $50.
Right.
And you think, oh, well, if I breed those, 100 of them, I'm going to make
Okay, I got you.
50 grand.
I'm following you.
Well,
No,
50
you
grand.
won't.
5 grand.
5 grand.
Yeah, whoops.
You won't do that either.
Yeah.
I've said this often. Angelfish is my currency. Why angelfish is, I think it's probably the best fish because every shop wants them. They're always selling them. So they're turning them over all the time. You can get, I mean, I've had spawns where I've raised 600 fry from one spawn. That's 1 week. The angelfish are going to spawn again in 7 to 10 days. Let's say you get 400 from the next spawn. That's 2 spawns. Now the next week you have, I mean, all of a sudden your fish room is so full of angelfish you don't know what to do. You don't have to spawn them that often if you don't want to. You can slow them down. You can leave the eggs with the parents. Chances are they might take care of them. Even if they take care of them, that's going to slow them down because they're not going to spawn right on top of that. So the thing with angelfish is they're always desirable. You're going to get out of 400 angelfish, depending on the price, and everybody's town is different. Everybody's country's different. I get between $3 and $3.50 per baby, which and that's store price. The other thing with angelfish is if you run into having too many, you can go down the next tier to a wholesaler. They would probably take the whole tank at once for a little bit less, but you clear the whole tank out for the next batch coming along, right? In my opinion, angelfish is a really good fish room currency.
Rams, I think, fit that category
Rams
too.
do, but rams are a little bit more difficult.
They pay better too.
They pay better, but I would not cut your teeth on rams. I would cut your teeth on some easier fish first. Once you get it down, it's pretty easy.
I think this is like obviously not accurate, but you could almost, you know how like there's like beginner, intermediate,
Yep.
expert. If you wanted to scale fish on difficulty of breeding,
Yep.
for the most part, you get outliers. Scale them by price. If something's cheap, it's either super importable
Right.
or easy to breed.
Right. But there are some super importable fish that stores love to buy local.
Yeah.
And one is the Pracox rainbow
Yeah.
because they don't have problems with them. A lot of import fish they could have problems with. Now, the difference is the Pracox rainbow might take an average person 5 to 6 months to get to a saleable size. If you do everything right, you could do that in 3 months. You know, sometimes you miss one day and it might set you back for a week. Yeah.
I think if you can do rams, I'd try like stir-by cories or panda cories.
Yep.
Could be another good one.
I think almost any cory could be a good one. Even albino cories. I was doing albino cories when I was 17. Every one I could produce, I could sell.
Yeah.
Not for as much as like a ram or a discus or an angelfish, but you didn't spend as much time. And I learned quickly that some can live down here in a grow out tank and some can live up here as long as you keep the water quality up. So the cories are on the bottom. You have to make sure you feed them as well as up here. Maybe the angels are up on top. And a lot of people consider cories and other plecos and stuff scavengers, but if you're breeding them for profit, they have to eat. I'm going to go back to another point you said about the plecos. your numbers are way, way lower. That is actually one of the things that drives the pleco prices.
Fecundancy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're only going to get 20 to 30 young and everybody else is only getting to 20, 31 young, that's going to drive the price up because it's a harder fish to spawn then and a harder fish to raise. I will say that I believe for people that want to get into plecos, start with the gold bristlenose or the long fin gold bristlenose. I'm not a huge fan of long fin ones.
You're talking about like albino bristlenose?
Yes,
or
albino.
Yeah.
Yes. Or the
blue eye lemon,
Yeah.
super red.
The reason, even super reds,
Yeah.
if you can afford them, because if you start with those, they tend to come out more in the shops, so they tend to sell more than the common bristlenose.
Just because they simply stand out.
They stand out,
Yeah.
exactly, and they sell for a little bit more than the standard bristlenose. Plus, they breed the same.
There's also like you can sometimes breed them underneath something else.
All the time you can.
So like that can also add a bit of money.
Yep.
Dollars in your
Yep.
pocket. I talk about too, one of the tips is shrimp. If you got good water, sometimes with certain species, like if you wanted to just breed bristlenose, you can breed shrimp together with the bristlenose,
Yep.
and that works.
But we were talking about fish.
I know that.
But
These
getting
are
into,
still bonuses,
getting into
yeah.
shrimp is a different thing because this whole fish room used to be crystal red shrimp at one point.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
I was selling tons and tons and tons of them. Actually, this rack wasn't there at the time.
Okay.
So it wasn't quite the whole fish room, but it was all crystal red shrimp. I think you could turn a boatload of cash just on red cherry shrimp. Super desirable, but you're going to have to learn to ship them at that point because you're going to produce too many for your local market.
Yeah. Another one I want to ask is like, angelfish might not work for everyone because
won't.
there might already be a guy doing it who's better than you
Yep.
to start with. So sometimes as a breeder, one of the things I learned was that you had to eat it just sometimes. You just had to eat sometimes. Like because sometimes you'll make 1,000 angelfish and you can't sell them.
Right.
And the only way to get rid of them to make something else to
Right.
try to see if it'll work in the market
Right.
is to get rid of them. So you might just have to like
Sometimes.
10 cents,
Yep.
get rid of them.
And start with something else.
Yeah, it's a long process and you got to like really work your way to find your niche.
That's why it's always good to talk with the shop owner or the person buying the fish. I remember just in the last 4 or 5 years, I had gone into a shop and the guy said, well, I'm happy with the breeder I'm buying angelfish with from now. And that just told me he's not interested in my angelfish. So you have to put that in your mind that this shop doesn't want mine. But if you ever go into the shop and you see that there's no angelfish or they're all sick,
It might be an opportunity.
time to make an opportunity out of that.
The other thing too, you have to like the fish. Like
You don't.
really,
You don't. I disagree.
really?
Yeah, you don't have to, but you have to respect the fish.
I think you got to like it. Like,
Do you?
because I would never want to breed African cichlids, even if they were worth a lot. At the moment, I'm just not interested in the fish in that same way. Like,
Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's kind of true. I've bred fish that I would not keep in my own show tanks
yeah,
for profit.
like black rams.
Yeah, they never went out of this room. Put a black ram in any of these tanks, and they just disappear. They weren't my favorite. you
Yeah.
know, but they were extremely profitable to breed.
Any other honourable mentions for fish that you reckon people, if you had to send someone out of here on a class, what would you send them out trying to do?
Rice fish.
I agree with that actually.
Yeah, rice fish is one of the newest trends in the hobby.
Yeah.
Pick 2 colors maybe that you like. You do it different than I. You do the Skittle variety.
But that's because
That's just,
I'm in a different, you and me are in different
it's a different
boats.
market.
We got customers now.
Yeah. And I like to keep even with my angels, I only do one type of angel now.
Like if someone came to my shop and offered me Skittles, I'd probably
Say
it'd be
no?
hard. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'd prefer someone come into the shop. Like I'd be pleased if someone came into the shop and offered me like pairs of Luminatus.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like that'd
Exactly.
be like
Yeah.
a medium tier fecundant fish that would sell
Mm-hmm.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think rice fish is a big trend right now, and they're not difficult. They don't take super long to be saleable size. I actually like the crib. You're seeing less and less cribs in shops.
Probably. Yeah.
I would consider that a beginner or intermediate fish easily. It's a fun fish to watch, and great parental care. Uh-oh.
RIP GoPro.
Another one is good guppies,
Yeah. Yes.
good platies.
Yep.
We saw some really cool little tiny platies the other day.
I think they need color.
Color will work.
Color
Yeah.
works, yeah.
If you look around here,
Everything's colorful.
all the fish I sell have either blue, orange, peppermint. They have something.
Honeycomb.
Yep.
Something cool.
Something cool. The
Thanks.
rainbows are easy to spawn.
But only a few types sell.
Only a few types sell
I
a
think
lot.
Praecox is...
The other issue you're going to have with rainbows, I mean, a lot of people love when they see the big Bozemanii and other big rainbows, they will breed right away. They will breed when they're 1.5 inches long and maybe even a little bit smaller. Keep in mind, I told someone this the other day, tank size and grow out time. Rainbows take longer to grow out. You know, it's just the fact of how they grow. Cories are another good one.
Yes, if someone came into
I
my
think
shop
so.
with 100 stir-bys,
Take 'em every
$5
time, right?
each, yeah, I'd
Yep.
take them right now.
Yep,
Yeah, I would.
$5 each.
Yeah, because I could
I
sell
might
them.
start shipping to you.
Yeah, you should. I would. I'd take them.
$5 American? Probably not.
$3.50 American.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
I do like, and they always sell any of the Epistos, but you're talking smaller numbers again.
And also the male
Yeah,
to female
male,
sex
female
ratio
ratio, right.
stuffed me up a bunch.
And they almost always want pairs of those.
Some of my big wins have been like Hillstream loaches.
Yeah?
They can, just because they're passive breeders.
Right.
But they sell for a lot more in Australia. But even if
Yeah.
they sold for like $5, it'd still be kind of worth it.
Yeah, because, like you say, because they're a passive breeder.
It's less work, so I can
Less
have
work.
them going at the same time
At the
as
same
something
time as
harder.
something else, right?
Yeah. Can you think of any big
What
wins?
about the blue eyes?
The blue eyes are always a good one.
Yeah.
Because they can fit into a nano tank.
And they're always spawning, so you can be pulling eggs almost every day.
When I want them, I get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of playing with these electric blue Acaras.
They're good sellers.
Giant spawns. I'm just playing with it. This is the first spawn.
Pygmy cories, lots and lots of them.
Those are fun too.
They
Those
are
are a lot
fun.
of fun.
Little baby hummingbirds.
And you know, that's the other thing is, what fish do you like? What fish do you have fun with? You know, if it lines up, that would be the one to do.
Yeah, it's like finding gold when that
Yeah,
happens. I just
kind
love
of.
that.
Yeah.
When it's working, yeah, you feel good about it, you're making money from it.
I mean, in the trays, I'm looking at, I have red koi angels, stir-bay cories, German blue rams, some guppies, some electric blue Acaras. There probably should have been more trays of rams. I lost one spawn because I had missed a couple feedings. You can't miss feedings. It bounces around. I guarantee those labels will be different next week.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah.
That's the best part. You know?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of those big wins.
Your first sale compared to credit, that's a big win.
Yes.
The first time you can take 2 different types of fish to a dealer, that's a big win.
Even like once you've paid off the equipment,
Yes,
once you break the break-even moment.
right,
I love that.
right. That was good.
Your break-even with fish is a long road.
It is.
It's about a year, I'd say. You're a year from setup.
Yeah, at least a year, I'd say.
Because you got 6 months setup and 6 months before you can sell
Yeah.
something. So, yeah.
Can I give them my 3 Ps?
Yes, please.
Okay. The 3 Ps for breeding fish for profit. How about that? That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You need to have patience. Sometimes the patience is with yourself. Sometimes it is growing the fish out to get to a breeding size and age. And then you have to have practice. I was having a hard time with my German blue rams.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't keep any of these alive. I can't keep any of these alive.
Same.
I have a friend in the hobby who I kind of consider my mentor. And I was having lunch with him one day.
Who is it?
It's Dick Al in California. He's a very good discus breeder. He's written 3 or 4 books.
That's pretty cool.
And I was complaining about, man, I'm just not able to raise rams anymore. And he says, no, he says, Dean, he says, you breed anything. He says, you're just out of practice. And he says, all you got to do is start pulling a couple spawns and just practice. And if you lose them, you got another spawn coming.
Yep.
When you do practice and you fail, which you will, you'll have far more failures than successes. And don't feel bad about that because it's a fact. Even I have far more failures than successes. But when you practice, don't wholesale change things. Change one thing different. and try that. And then if that didn't work, change that back and change something else different. And then the next thing you have to do is you have to persevere. So you have to have the perseverance. So it didn't work, you got to persevere and try it again. Didn't work, you got to persevere and try again.
The more you keep going and trying again, it's like more like you're not going to give up now because you've gone so
exactly.
far. I love that.
And you just get better at it.
You do.
That's what you need. You need to just get better, you know.
Awesome. I'm all inspired. I want to go to my fish room and breed everything now.
Cheers, everybody.